Hi, welcome. It's very weird to speak with headphones like this, so I'm going to be getting used to in the next 5 minutes. So thank you for joining us in today's session where we're going to talk about putting Doughnut Economics, the concepts and the ideas of Doughnut Economics into practice in local governments. And we're super excited today to have representatives from Ipoh in Malaysia and Tomelilla in Sweden. We're going to share insights from their work with Doughnut Economics. My name is Leonora Grcheva. I'm the Cities and Regions lead at the Doughnut Economics Action Lab, working with local governments around the world that are experimenting with these ideas. And I'm going to start the session today by sharing a bit about what Doughnut Economics is for those of you that may be new to the ideas. We are, can you just go back to the slides just to say that I'm joined here by Britt-Marie McQueen, who's the CEO of Tomelilla, and Stefan Persson, the Organisational Development Manager from the city. And from Ipoh, we have Mr. Halim Saad, who's the Senior Director of Administration, and Nizam bin Jafaafar, who's the Corporate Director of Ipoh City Council. And thanks so much for coming here. So, where's the clicker? I'm going to start very briefly to share the ideas of what Doughnut Economics is. It's a book written by English economist Kate Rayward called 7 Ways to Think Like a 21st Century Economist. And it is this new economic model, this idea challenging some of the 21st century thinking in economics and in how essentially we do our planning practices and running our cities indirectly as well. And there are 7 chapters and 7 ideas behind some of them. And I'm going to share some of the core ideas behind Doughnut Economics, taking a big step back to recognize that this idea, this new economic model, is really a response to the crisis in which we find ourselves today, the social and ecological crisis, where we have entire regions of the world suffering due to climate change, biodiversity loss, droughts, famines, floods, etc. We have put too much pressure on the planet, who is now responding in various ways. And a lot of this is coming, and this is what the book proposes, that a lot of the reason behind this is how we've organized 20th century economics. And these are some of the, if we simplify it, at the core, some of the basic ideas behind 21st century economic. On one side, we have the self-portrait of man. How do we see ourselves? Man as a rational economic person, caring only about money, on top of the entire living world, kind of dominating the living species and having the right to decide and to extract. And on the other side, we have the goal being never-ending economic growth. And these aren't things that we say directly as such, but they are inbuilt into a lot of our economic principles, into our industries, in our nations. And our planet, we now know, does not have the capacity to support continuous economic growth, does not have the capacity to continue taking more CO2 emission, more raw materials extraction, and more biodiversity loss. And at the core of Doughnut Economics is challenging the idea that we can continue the same pace of economic growth and the prioritization of economic growth as the goal within planetary boundaries. So I'll kind of skip through some data, but essentially more and more we have the science and understanding that the idea of endless economic growth is not currently compatible with reducing CO2 emissions enough. We have a lot of countries where absolute decoupling is possible. Absolute decoupling being economic growth continues to rise while CO2 emissions reduce. And UK is one of these countries. We're successfully doing this here. However, the problem often, this is what justifies us to work towards continuous economic growth because we're seeing that we can reduce emissions. However, recent research is showing us that while yes, we are reducing and GDP is growing and CO2 is reducing, it's nowhere near fast enough and big in order to actually hit the Paris commitments. And it needs to be 5 times faster and bigger. And on the other side, we have materials use that continue to be kind of unable to decouple for economic growth. So the more our economies grow, the more materials we extract from the earth. And we now know that there is a limit to that, at least for where we are now, with how things have been going so far. So this is why Doughnut Economics is proposing this kind of switching of new ideas, where recognizing that we're not dominating, all living world, that we should change the self-portrait, recognizing that we should be part, as we are, of the web of life, of all living species and dependent on all living species. And the goal should change from endless economic growth to humans and nature thriving in balance. And Doughnut Economics says that we should be agnostic to growth, meaning we should change the goal. We should aim for human and ecological thriving, and this may result in growth or no, but we shouldn't make this the goal itself. So what is the donut, this image? If you imagine humanity's use of Earth's resources radiating from the center towards the outside, in the inside we have where people are falling short on life's essentials. So we want to use enough resources to get over that inner circle, that social foundation, and into the green, safe and just space for humanity. However, at the same time, we cannot let our collective use of resources push over the outer circle, which is the ecological ceiling. So the goal, through the lenses of Doughnut Economics, becomes quite simple. It's meeting the needs of all people within the means of the living planet. So leaving no one short and don't overpush the limit. And these themes that you see on the inside, water, food, energy, health, networks, education, housing, equality, social equity, etc., they're drawn from the Sustainable Development Goals that we're all very familiar with. While on the outside, we have the planetary boundaries identified in the past decade by system Earth scientists. There are these planetary scale systems that are calling our planet into balance. So climate change and biodiversity loss being the core ones, but also water withdrawals, waste, air pollution, etc. So if this is the goal of humanity, how are we currently doing towards achieving that goal? And the answer is, this is the selfie of humanity, showing us that we're profoundly out of balance, pushing over the ecological limits, and while billions are still living in deprivation. And these are I'm speeding through the core ideas to get to the part where many practitioners around the world, from local governments, but also from businesses, from the civil sector, from community groups, have started to put these ideas into practice. And how do we do that when we're talking about places and cities and neighborhoods? And really we start with this guiding question, asking how can our place become a home to thriving people in a thriving place while respecting the well-being of all people and the health of the whole planet. And this is recognizing this social foundation and the ecological ceiling, but also recognizing that we need to be thinking about local impact as well as about global impact and global responsibilities, not just of the entire planet, but also of humans elsewhere impacted through global supply chain, through trade and policy relationships, through extraction of materials, through CO2 emissions. And so for many places, for many local governments that have been getting started when putting these ideas into practice, they've started by creating their own portrait of how they're currently doing, showing where we are now, building this portrait of a place. Here seeing the portraits in Barcelona and in Brussels, comparing the targets that we're setting of where we need to go in our social foundation and ecological ceiling, and comparing them to the indicators on how we're actually doing right now towards achieving them. And then many places, this helps them to start a conversation about where we want to move towards, setting out that transition pad of turning that image, that selfie of our places around. And in the practice of local governments, we at the Doughnut Economics Action Lab, which is a small organization that was co-founded by Kate Rayward, the author, we create a lot of these freely available tools, resources, workshops, various materials. And at the same time, cities have been very innovating with the concepts, with the tools, adapting them, contextualizing them. So in the practice, we've been seeing the concept being used in very different ways, using Doughnut as a compass, building new metrics of progress, then developing processes for monitoring, for evaluation, for prioritization, for bridging silos and having new conversations internally in local governments, but also externally between stakeholders in the private sector, in the civil sector, having new ways of talking about the crisis we find ourselves in, and also new ways of decision making. There are many, I'm just giving a very quick glimpse through the various things that so many places around the world, over 80 now starting to engage with these ideas, have been doing. And if you're more interested to read more, we have some of that guide having a lot of these case studies clumsily thrown here on the ground, so you're welcome to help yourselves to some copies. But today we're here to really be hearing from the practice of cities. So I will hand over to my colleagues from Tomelilla to Britt to hear your story.
Thank you very much. My name is Britt-Marie McQueen, and I work as a CEO in the community of Tomelilla in the very, very south of Sweden.
And I'm Stefan Persson, and I work as a strategic developer in the municipality as well.
And we decided to stand up so we can see the laptop instead of, turning backwards all the time. Should we switch pictures? Sometimes we call ourselves small but tough, not rough, tough. We're a small community, since Sweden has a very, very high degree of smaller communities and also a very, very high degree of local government, which means that there's not much state control, there's not much state assessment, and we can actually decide to work with models that aren't implicated everywhere in the country. We come from a rural community in the very south, as I said, and we're also close to larger cities like Malmö and Copenhagen. Copenhagen, I might think, is one of the cities actually working with the donut. Very well known for our nature and arts especially, which means that this time of the year, compared to the size, I would almost dare to say we have got, compared to the size, as much tourists as London has. Everyone comes to watch our art and handicraft and all that stuff. We're also very strong on the agriculture side when it comes to producing all the way to what we have on our tables, which is also a very important business and enterprise for us, which is actually a very important aim for us to work with sustainability, because we're beginning to realize that the crops of today won't be the crops of tomorrow, and there has to be a lot of science involved in that work. As a community, we're actually the largest employer in our little place also. Small but tough, a lot smaller than our colleagues from the other side of the world. When it comes to working with the donuts, we started off with some research to figure out if this was a model that we could actually implicate on the official part of Sweden. And it was. There was a big check on that one. And to us, we decided to set a platform where we want to work with what we called a very profound and very sincere delegating to our co-workers. And to me as a CEO, that was a challenge. I can't be the CEO no longer that steps forward and says, do it like this. I have to leave things to others to develop and to actually work very, very trust-based. That also has to do with brave politicians that decided that they were going to develop a very, very real dialogue with the citizens. In our country, sometimes you would find that the politicians are very active every fourth year when we have our elections, but not in the municipality where we work. So there's a lot of dialogue with the inhabitants. There's also work with inhabitants actually helping us with our budget and financial work. So lots of that. Saying those things about our platform, it's also been very important for us to work with innovation. Because we actually think that daring to work with the donut means to work with trial and error and to develop out of our errors and be innovative. It's nothing complicated. We use the OECD model and apply that to our local arena, sort of. But with that platform, we decided to walk into the donut, right, Stefan?
Yes, right. And that started already back in 2021. We had a new quality of life program, and the quality of life program was both for ecological sustainability and social sustainability and public health. And for us as strategists evaluating the program, we felt we need some more tools to work with such complex areas, so many complex levels when you take sustainability as a holistic model. So that's when we found the work of Amsterdam and other cities working with Doughnut, and we found it very inspiring and tried to find out could this be something for us in the small municipality of Tomelilla. And we made this pre-study together with the Research Institute of Sweden. And as Britt-Marie said, it was a big check on that. It should be possible to use the model as an evaluation tool for the Quality of Life program. And we've been working with that now for almost 3 years, making our own data portrait or city portrait that we finished just a couple of weeks ago. That is our first picture of how we are doing on a local scale. And that's a complex work because we can't copy Amsterdam that much because we're so different from Amsterdam. We're 14,000 inhabitants. But also what kind of data do we have? How can we work with the data? And also, as Leonora said, what is being inside the donut for us? It's different for us and other parts in the world. So where should we put the limit of saying now it's good enough?
Before you swap the picture, just something on this. The traditional Swedish or Scandinavian way, if you like, to measure this, pretty similar, I think, to the rest of the world, would have given us a lot of green areas. A lot of green what's it called, markers. I have to excuse my English. And what I'd like to say is that it takes a lot of courage, guts, if you like, to be a politician and to say that let's make this our aim and let's focus on it. Because what you have to show up in front of everybody else, inhabitants, media, rest of the country, is all of a sudden and not an improvement, the total contrary. But I think that's worth pointing out. It takes courageous politicians to do this.
Yeah, and it started out as an evaluation tool for us, but then our brave politicians said when we're going to build a new school, and that's the first school we're building since the 1970s, so it's quite new for us to build a school. But we are going to build a new school, and they said that we should do it using the Doughnut principles, and that's quite unique, both for us and in the world. So there's no way to tell how to do it. But usually when you plan a school, you start with how big should it be, what size should it have, and what's the budget for it. We didn't start in that end. We didn't start with economics or finance at all. We started with questions Leonora was talking about. How can we make the community thrive? And how can we make this a place that helps us thrive? We have a couple of sentences here that's actually from the requirements from the procurement we did to make an inventory for a master plan. So these are the requirements we asked our architects to actually help us answer, and that's the questions we try to answer in the inventory. The other one is how does it mean to design a school fit for the future? How do we train our kids for the new world, for a new future? And also, how can we imagine a beautiful building? We are connecting to the new Bauhaus model. Aesthetics is important as well as sustainability. So we can't forget about the aesthetics. But also, kind of to sum up, the important thing is to have this holistic perspective on it. How can we build a place that's really helping us thrive and helping our kids thrive, and not taking anything from anyone else on a global scale?
You can imagine, I think you can imagine, most of you, if you're in any sort of official work, how big a change this is to how we normally do it. Because we always look at the physical stuff and the financial stuff first. And I have to admit that a little bit more than a week ago, I was pretty nervous because our city council had their final meeting to decide the financial bit of this that had taken sort of work and beginnings and exercise in such a different way than we're used to. So I was sort of sitting there thinking, can I actually go to London in a week and talk about this? But they did. They're still brave and courageous.
And just to go through the parts of the inventory, we had 4 pillars. I don't know if you want to say something about that. The 4 pillars we were looking at in the master plan. And to be specific, the master plan is a sketch for the whole school area. So it's not a detailed plan on how we're going to build a school. That's the next step that we're starting on right now. So it is a very holistic perspective on how to build a new school. Just to take some examples.
Just finishing picture of things we are actually doing out of this investigation, assessment, and all the work we did to get to where we are today. Is we're planning to build kitchen, garden, greenhouse, edible park, which means a lot of the education will also be taking part there. So if you think of traditional schools as an institution, forget about it. It's not going to look like that at all. So local food chains and distribution, and that also obviously has to do with our area where we live and practice. Playgrounds as tools for reconnection to nature will also be a very important part. What is difficult for us, and which is going to be a big challenge, is the lack of recycled materials, which I think a lot of people will find when they do larger scale projects like this. So that still needs some thinking, still needs some figuring out, but we'll get there eventually. I'm pretty sure of that.
I think if you need a door, you can find a reused door. But if you need a reused school, it's not out on the market. But we're also trying to design to help in the future with finding recycled materials. So the school will be easy to both construct but also deconstruct once, hopefully, long into the future in 100 years or something. But it has to be easy to deconstruct and reuse in different ways. But also deconstruct to change with how school is developing. I mean, how we were teaching our children back in the 70s is not the same as today. But today is not the same as in 30 or 40 years. So we have to be able to change the school according to how the education changes. So that's important. Also using energy is of course important. Energy is a big source. We already have solar panels. We're planning on having much more solar panels, but we're also actually in the school planning on having a container park. And that kind of sounds strange when we talk about Bauhaus and aesthetics. But the container park is for batteries, for example, but also technical installations that will be easy to change, easy to upgrade, easy to serve. And also, if you have batteries, you don't want them in school. You want them apart from school for safety reasons as well. So we will have a battery park, hopefully a beautiful one, but we'll see. Also, we're also planning on having a very simple construction for several reasons, both to connect to local traditions in building with clay and building with hemp. We're hoping to build with a hempcrete, and we're actually looking into the possibility of growing hemp where the school is going to be built. So we actually grow the materials to build off. We don't know if that's possible, but we will look into it. We're looking into it with the University of Lund, a university close to us. But also for the local community. Big schools needs big constructors and big contractors. Smaller, simpler schools built in one stage with simple wood construction. Then we have lots of local contractors that could compete with actually building the school. So we help our local businesses as well by keeping it simple. And that's again trying to think holistic about sustainability, both social and economic and ecological.
So, like I said earlier, reassess the conception of a school. It's not going to look like the traditional institution, and we're going to take a lot of... there's going to be a lot of education held outdoors and indoors. So there's going to be a big flexibility when it comes to that. We're also trying to build the school and the area around it very accessible for outside of school hours, and thinking in a sustainable way also when it comes to that. A part of our city where people can actually meet and join in a sustainable environment. And we're making sure that kids and youth are with us in this planning. So in the whole work with the master plan, we work together with them and their parents. And this is the way we're going to continue to create and have co-creators with us throughout the whole work. And it's of course also very important, and a tactic and a strategy, if you like, to have people joining in during this whole process, which is unusual and which is a big change towards or compared to how we're used to doing things. So come to us in about 5 years and have a look at our school and see what it's developed into.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Britt and Stefan. I'll now pass on to my colleagues at Ipoh, or actually we'll start first by playing a quick video introducing a bit the Ipoh and the context of it. And can we hear the sound? Can't hear the sound of it. I mean, we can still see and read the words.
Better I do the presentation first, and then let's try to fix it. I think better than that, because there's nothing we can do.
It's okay, but there is the text. Everybody can see. Should we go and then? I'm not sure if we have time. So should I go ahead with your?
I think that's and black pen.
Okay, so we'll because the sound isn't working, so maybe we'll just go with the presentation and maybe we can fix that in the background and we'll play it afterwards. Is it possible? Oh, okay.
Activity. Ipoh has also implemented other projects such as waste management and the use of renewable energy to ensure the sustainability of the economy and the environment. Among the projects implemented are Trash for Cash, e-waste, used cooking oil and used tires or pyrolysis, which recover valuable resources through the collections of recyclable waste materials. Ipoh is developing a city portrait action plan to ensure all development plans are coordinated and used as benchmarks to prevent exceeding ecological boundaries, emphasizing the balance of economic, social, political, and environmental aspects in line with the Doughnut economic goals. With the Doughnut economic approach, Ipoh City can ensure environmental sustainability for the well-being of its people through the future.
I'll pass it now to Nizam to share, and apologies about the technical error. Inevitable, inevitable.
Can I use this?
I think both, either this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are sorry about this video. Maybe a technical error from the company. Never mind. So I try to elaborate about Doughnut economy in Ipoh. First thing we have to know what is it. I think Miss Leonora already told us about the Doughnut economy. For your information, Ipoh is the first Doughnut economy in Asia. We thanks to Professor Kate because she loved Ipoh. I don't know, maybe she loved Ipoh because she said she always came to Ipoh because they have a Tan Sri Jamila. He's a colleague, her colleague. So I think we are proudly grateful because Ipoh will be a first Doughnut economic city in Asia. Okay, first I will try to elaborate about Doughnut economy in Ipoh. What is our activity that we have done in Ipoh? Sorry, we know about Sweden because Sweden they have to try emphasize the Doughnut economy because of politician and everything. But in Ipoh it's different. Politician try to ask us to follow, order us to do the Doughnut economy in their structure plan. This is a different. So we have to implement as a city, we have to implement what the government asks us to do. So for the things that I try to present today is about Doughnut economy. So first is welcome to our presentation to the resilient cities and their response to the climate change challenge. Today we will focus on the Ipoh journey towards becoming Doughnut economic city by 2027. We aim to illustrate how Ipoh to integrating sustainable practices to balance a social progress and ecology integrity. Okay, right. Okay, Doughnut economy is a transformation framework that guides us to creating sustainable and thriving society. It focuses on two key areas: is the social foundation and the ecology shielding. Together with this element, create a balance of Doughnut model where society thrives within a safe and just space. Re-imaging Ipoh as the Doughnut city is a visionary concept that emerged its historical and current identities into a cohesive future. Ipoh, the Doughnut city, integrates its historical and contemporary identities into the ununified vision. This city strives to embrace the heritage as a cultural city, preserving its rich historical past, embody innovation as a smart city, leveraging technology for progress, commit to sustainable as a green city, promoting environmental stewardship, prioritize affordable as an inclusive city, ensuring accessible living for all, foster creative as an innovative city, pioneering into new solutions of the future. This concept of Ipoh as a Doughnut city is and capabilities of a cohesive and forward-looking approach to the harmonious, diverse aspect is identity towards to share future. In accordance of Perak State Structure Plan 2040, especially core number 2, Ipoh aims to fulfill several key objects. Special Area Plan, number 13, mitigate urban mitigation by offering compelling reason to stay. Number 14, ensure affordable and inclusive housing option for retirees. Number 15, enhance the workforce competitive in the market. Ipoh aspires to be a city that caters all the generation where the youth can flourish and elderly will support, epitomizing the concept of affordable city. Aligned with the principle of sustainable development outlined, Ipoh Local Plan 2020 and Perak State Structure Plan 2040, Ipoh is poised to adopt the Doughnut model, making it pioneering city in Asia. This model not only leverage Ipoh's inherent strength, but also enhance of operational efficiency and global competitiveness, setting a benchmark for other cities to emulate. Next. Ipoh maintained its commitment of ecology integrity by preserving 60%. I think this is not the other one. Next, please. Yes. We have a 60% forest. This is the things in Ipoh. So we try to preserve this green area. So as a Doughnut city, we no need to do a lot of rapid development, but we try to slow the development, but we have to preserve our green space. This is part of Doughnut economy. Ipoh maintain, Ipoh maintain the commitment of ecology integrity by preserving 60% of its land and green area. The Ipoh City Council is dedicated to safeguarding these spaces and transforming brownfield sites into eco-friendly tourism area. This initiative aligns with our goal as minimizing environmental impact for fostering a greener city. Next. Here we have illustrate the breakdown. Next, please. Yes. Here we have our roadmap for the Doughnut Economic City. So as you see, we have started off a Doughnut economy in 2022, and we try to emulate until 2027. We hope that within 5 years, we can preserve our city as a greenery city and a smart city too. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, to line the Sustainable Development Goal number 17, to align the Sustainable number 17, the partnership for the goals and the city is partnering with the Perak State Government along with the Sunway University, and the Ipoh Doughnut Economy Initiative. These collaborations are essential to promoting sustainable urban development and addressing environment challenge, ensure Ipoh growth to the inclusive and sustainable. The MOU has signed between Ipoh City Council and these key partners are MOU with Sandwich City, Institute Darul Rizwan, and Perak State Government. Ipoh City Council was represented by Lord Mayor of Ipoh City. No, back please. The other one. Yeah. Okay. Next. And next. Next, please. Yeah. Okay. Ipoh City. Next, please. Next. Next. Yeah. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, we will now present the key demonstrator project with that example Ipoh commitment to become the Doughnut Economic City. This initiative highlights practical applications of model urban development and sustainable. Next. This is the cast carbon Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Okay. Okay, all right. Try. I tried to finish earlier, okay? Okay, this is a cast that Ipoh have. We have a lot of casts in Ipoh because we are trying to lower our rapid development to these places. That Ipoh actually is one of the very good systematic casts in Malaysia. Then we hope that our cast will be preserve for a long time for our children. Next. So this is one of the regenerative development that we have done. Ipoh actually we have a one center market that already abandoned. So we try to make it new. So we do regenerated with the office, and now we use as a one-stop center. We call it a urban transformation center for all our office of a government in one places. Next. This is a creative culture that we have done. So we hope that all our children will preserve the culturing, because we have a lot of a mix of culture in Malaysia. Not just a Malayu, we have Chinese and we have a Hindus. So we hope that all the people of Malaysia will know their culture itself. And we hope that you can come and see our culture is very unique culture in Malaysia. Next. Okay, I will end my presentation that I hope that you understand what is a Doughnut Economic City in Ipoh. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nizam. Sorry for all the technical errors. I was hoping that we'll have time for a few questions, but I realized that we actually don't anymore because we've run out of time. So if there are any questions, maybe join us afterwards and talk to us, please. And thanks so much for your attention. And thank you, Tomelilla and Ipoh, for joining us here today.